the whole point.
Article 173 of the Constitution explains the role of the Chief Registrar to administer the fund. There is this fund. You are acting like you are the Chief Justice, you are the GSC, JSC, you are everything. I thought when you say that you are transforming the judiciary, the Chief Justice is wholly responsible for that. And that raises the question why Shollei was becoming so visible, even more than the Chief Justice, and that the fight then. The transformation that we are talking of, the changes that we are doing in the judiciary. Yet, according to my understanding, one of the roles that I've told you, Article 173, is for you to administer the fund. The rest of the work is supposed to be done by other people. And then Shollei will come in and say, here are the funds. But what is this transformation that we are doing in the judiciary that was not being done by the Chief Justice and other?
Okay, no. I think our document that we're relying on as our policy document for implementing the budget or any programs is the Judiciary Transformation Framework. That's the blueprint. In that transformation framework, it set out exactly what should be done. On one of the pillars, it clearly tells us that we should have a reorganization of the entire judiciary in terms of organizational structure and so on. Then what we did is we hired experts who came to help us design a new structure. That structure was then tabled by me to the Judicial Service Commission. They approved it. Then we began to advertise the jobs and recruited people. So we've been following. So we actually following the transformation.
You have told us under you have, I don't know, built how many courts. I thought, Shollei, the courts were being built by the Judicial Service Commission, or the Chief Justice was in it, and the work of Shollei was just to fund, because you're administering the money. How come you started building courts?
Let's explain. If you look at our transformation framework, there was different, everybody has a different role in the transformation framework. For example, when we talk about ICT as an enabler for justice, that was the docket of the director ICT.
Let me frame it this way, Gladys, for precision. Who came up with the reform, the judiciary
transformation
framework?
The judiciary transformation framework came in as a long consultative process, which began actually under the former Deputy Chief Justice, Nancy Baraza. And then they were a group of consultants, they reviewed reports from the past and so on. Eventually, the transformation program was developed. There was actually a process where they met different groups of judges, different groups of staff, consulted stakeholders, everybody,
so
until the document.
The JSC set up a judiciary transformation committee headed by the former Deputy Chief Justice, right?
Yes.
Which was responsible for coming up with that framework.
Yes.
Drawing
yes, and then when she left office, I took over and participated in it. But remember, it was a
What do you mean you took over as and participated in what capacity?
No, it's just organizing groups of people to have the consultations, amend the document, give their input. So the input was received from very many different people, including stakeholders, the police, the DPP, and so on. So that process went through. So that after the document was developed, then the implementation was being done by various people. So if it fell under your docket, for example, so there were, like, for example, infrastructure development. With infrastructure development, I delegated that to the Deputy Chief Registrar.
Okay, let's not get into the finer details. The thing is, what was the role of the Chief Justice in this whole transformation?
Yes, the Chief Justice is the policy head. His task was to always check whether we are actually implementing the transformation framework. Yeah, and he would, are we having any challenges improving with it, and so on.
So is it right to say that then the judicial transformation is actually clearly steered by the Chief Justice?
The Chief Justice.
The Chief Justice is as head of the judiciary, has a responsibility to ensure it's being implemented. But the implementation is not done by the Chief Justice, it's done by everybody.
Who was your boss on a day-to-day basis?
The Chief Justice.
Yeah, I mean,
but it sounds like what you're saying is that the Chief Justice was ceremonial and that you were the actual implementer-in-chief.
No, if you look at it, the Chief Justice is head of the judiciary. That's what the Constitution says. The Chief Registrar is the chief administrator of the judiciary and also the chief accounting officer of the judiciary.
So your interpretation, your interpretation of this was that you were hands-on, and then you answered to the Chief Justice, who presumably didn't get his hands dirty, because you were the one down in the muck trying to sort things out.
Yes, and that's how it's designed, to protect that office of the Chief Justice, so that he's not getting himself into the mud and he doesn't do the mundane work. What he does is at a policy level.
In fact, is it true? Are you answerable to the Chief Justice or you are answerable to the Judicial Service Commission?
I'm answerable to the Chief Justice.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Which was part of the complaint against you for insubordination when they tried to bring you to account and you answered them back saying that you don't answer to them.
No, I think where they cited me for insubordination is because I came out after they made the announcement and said it was unprocedural, irresponsible, and unlawful.
Right.
And the court eventually said
what did you mean when you said that you cannot be disciplined by,
GSC.
by the GSC? Yeah, you said that you're not really, your powers, they don't have the power to do what they were doing.
What we are saying is that the GSC can discipline me, but at the tail end. Remember that the Constitution and the Public Finance Management Act is very clear. I am answerable in terms of financial management to the National Assembly through Internal Auditor General, Kenya National Audit Office, Public Procurement Oversight Authority. I am answerable in terms of financial management. So I'm not answerable to the JSC in terms of financial management. Okay. They do not supervise financial management.
I would sit on you, Shollei, that when all this was happening, even politicians from your own community came out and said, we are going to die with Shollei. We are going to
well, they said that?
Yes.
Well, some politicians
say that it's in public domain.
Yes.
And you know, if this process is all about corruption, and Shollei is clean and she can get out of it, don't you think there was a bit of politics in it?
You know, the thing is, I can't stop politicians from making statements. Neither do I control what they say, you know. So I think to hold me to account for that really would be unfair. Okay. And remember, that's the job of, I mean, politicians always comment on many issues.
Right. Yeah. Let's go to our viewer comments because there's several. We'll take Kinua in Uplands who asks, it's the high time for her to declare her wealth for the short time she was in Judiciary. There are viewers who are asking you know.
Okay, first of all, I feel the wealth declaration from every year, but I can put it this way. I've lived in the same house for over 15 years. My children have gone to the same school for more than 15 years since they were 3. Now they are 18, they're in the same school. Yeah, and so nothing in my lifestyle has changed. Okay. And I have never refused to be audited. Let them come and look at my lifestyle. My children have been in the same school throughout. Right. I've lived in the same house throughout.
Okay, so there are those questions, but there's also a lot of support for you. Morning, Cheche panel. Why do we demonize good people? Shollei sounds clean, but people are up to no good, and those that can't get a chance to eat because of her strictness. Please let her work. Let's all pray for her. That's from Philip.
Thank you, Philip.
But of course, there's the other side to this, which is that the judiciary is coming into a lot of money. You say it wasn't that much, but it was coming to a lot of money. And that this whole row has to do with who has access to contracts, who has access to the deal making. To what extent do you think that has played a role in your misfortune?
Yes, it's a big thing. It's about corruption. It's about control of the resources. I think what happened is the JSC expected to be in charge of controlling the resources. And I also remember, mistakenly, they thought that they should be in charge of the finances. And like I said, if you use the analogy of Public Service Commission, the others, they do not. But I also, you know, can understand why. None of them have worked in the public service, save for Professor Margaret Kobia. Everybody else has never worked in the public service or been an accounting officer. I think the error that we made is that because it's a new constitution, there is new rules, there's a new Public Finance Management Act, we should have taken the commissioners to the Kenya School of Government so that they could get the basic training on how to operate within government. I think that's a big mistake that we made.
Okay. Yeah. Kado in Mombasa asks a question that I will rephrase. JSC commissioners have testosterone issues threatened by a strong female personality. The whole JSC judiciary, IEBC trifectum have lost credibility. If Shollei is guilty of these trumped-up charges, why approve her briefs? All these outfits should be investigated by an independent commission. And so the question becomes, do you think you'd be handled differently if you were a man?
I've never played that female card, so I've never thought about it.
You haven't thought about it?
I never think of it that way because throughout my life, okay, that's how I was brought up by my parents. I've never thought of myself as a woman. I've always thought myself as an equal to anybody. Yes, I'm a very self-assured and confident woman. That bothers a lot of people. Some people even think it's arrogance, you know? But there's a difference between arrogance and self-confidence, you know? And I think just one thing, because we forgot to mention it, if you look at some of the findings by JSC, they are relying on a 1989 legislation. Yet there has been another one in 2003, another one in 2006. So I think also, like I'm saying, there's a lot of lack of information, and that's why these things should be handled the way you're saying. Would I be handled better by other institutions? The expert institutions know exactly how to interrogate these issues. When you sit with the auditors, who audit government, they actually understand when you give them an answer. They'll know. When they ask about security deposit, they'll just be asking, is it declared? Is it in the financial report?
I'll ask you a question, which I'm going to then come to you, because of course you've expressed your opinions last week. Do you think you could have handled things differently? Do you think you overplayed your hand?
No, I think it doesn't matter. Even if I was back in the judiciary again, I'll do what I did. I'll do the staff rationalization. I would carry on the way I carried on. I have no regrets whatsoever. And I would do the same thing all over again. On the issue of people said I should not have responded to JSC, but again, I've never been a person who cows away and lets people bash me and get away with it.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the way I was brought up, and I believe that's the way you should carry on.
Okay, very quickly, because I have to take a break.
Yes.
You thought that she overplayed her hand. What do you think now?
Personally, now that you're here, right? in our last program,
you can still tell me.
In our last program, I said, in my opinion, that I thought Shollei should have done it in a different way. Probably rather than being so confrontational, you could have done it in a better way for the sake of the institution. Because as a citizen of this country, I've been asking myself.
Yes, that's what you said last week. What do you think now?
I still think, Shollei, that you should have done it in a different way. Now that you're telling me that is you, but you see, even the way I'm born, I should ask myself, how does it affect others? Because now you're in different position. But you're not in your house.
Yes.
You're not in your house. It's not your company.
Yes.
You're talking over an institution.
A public institution, yes.
Okay. But very quickly, sorry, David, what do you think? Very quickly, because we have to take a break.
Well, I still hold the view that, there's too much technicalities involved in a matter that is of great public interest. We want to cut to the chase. We want to look at the facts, the allegations, do they hold water? And take out all the technical procedures. Am I being handled properly? Is the due process being followed? What we're interested in is the facts.
Okay.
And which we should, Shollei should help us to get there quickly.
Okay, we've been doing that. You're watching Cheche, the program where opinion counts, live on Citizen TV with the former Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Gladys Shollei. We'll take a break now.